Hi, boys and girls. Welcome back for another math lesson. Today's lesson is going to be about making real graphs. So let's jump right into our video. Our words to know:
graph, leaves,
Erica has some leaves. How has Erica sorted the leaves?
Looking at Erica's leaves right here, she's sorted them by something. Think about how they're broken into two groups. What do you notice about them?
She has sorted them by color.
If you're looking now at the leaves, you can see that they are in two separate groups of color. She has all of her red leaves together and all of her green leaves together.
Does she have more red leaves or green leaves? How many more?
This is the question that we are going to explore in our video today. And the way that we are going to do it is by making a graph.
If Erica makes a graph, she can find out. Erica has two groups of leaves, so she draws two rows. What does Erica call her graph?
So it's always very important when making a graph to have some type of title. So thinking about what our problem is about, it's all about Erica and her leaves. We want to make sure that our title represents that.
She calls her graph Erica's leaves. How does Erica label the rows of the graph?
Well, think about how she had separated her two types of leaves into groups.
She labels the first row red leaves. She labels the second row green leaves. Erica puts one color leaf in each row. Are there more red or green leaves?
Now that the information is presented in a graph, it makes it a lot easier to see which type of leaf she has more of. So looking at this graph, boys and girls, are there more red leaves or are there more green leaves? Shout out your answer.
There are two more green leaves.
They figured out how many more, not only just to find out that there are more green leaves, but they said that there are two more green leaves, meaning two of the green leaves don't have partners. Or we've also learned throughout this chapter that when you're comparing two types of groups, you can just subtract those numbers to see how many more or how many fewer in each group.
A graph makes it easy to see which has more.
All right, we're going to go over into our practice problems so that you know exactly what to do for your worksheets today. It's all about making graphs, so let's go right into it. All right, let's take a look here. It says to use use the tally chart to make a graph with cubes. So I'm going to use cubes as little pictures, but when you're making your own graph, it's fine to just draw little rectangles or little circles, whatever you prefer to draw a picture when you're making your own graphs. So number one says the connecting cube tree tally chart. That's what we're looking at. If you're looking here, it does look like a little tree. That's why they called it that. Looking at the tally chart, we have green cubes, brown cubes, and blue cubes. Looking at the tallies, we have a group of 5 and one more for a total of 6 green cubes. We have 2 brown cubes, and we have 4 blue cubes. So let's take a look at putting together our own graph using cubes. Now, again, I know you don't have cubes at home, so you would just be drawing in little rectangles or circles. So we know that the green cubes are represented by a total number of 6, right? If I look at my picture, I can count out 6 or just look at my tally chart. So I want to represent that in my own graph. I want to show 6 cubes. So let's do that. Count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 green cubes. Now we need to represent the brown cubes. Looking back at our tally chart as well as the picture, you can see that there are 2 brown cubes, so I want to show that in my own graph. Count with me. 1, 2. And the last is our blue cubes. Looking at the picture as well as our tally chart, we can see that there are 4 blue cubes, and we want to represent that. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have now created my own graph and my graph is complete. Let's try one more example. It says, again, to use the tally chart to make a graph with cubes. And what we're looking at here is a connecting cubes flower because it's supposed to look like a flower. Let's take a look at our tally chart to make sure we understand what we see. For the red cubes, there are a total of 5 cubes. For green, there is a total of 3. For yellow, there is only 1. And for the blue, we have 5 tallies and 1 more to make a total of 6 blue cubes. Now I want to make my own graph. And again, I'm going to be using a little picture of a cube, but you would just draw in a rectangle or circle to represent each group. So my red cubes, let's start there. We need to show 5. So count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red cubes on my chart, graph rather, on my graph. Now let's go to the green, look back up at the tally chart. There is a total of 3, so let's represent that on my chart. Count with me. 1, 2, 3 green cubes. Now I want to go and do the yellow. Looking at the yellow in the tally chart, there is only 1 yellow cube, so let's represent that in my chart by showing 1. Very good. And last is the blue. Looking at the blue at my tally chart, it says I have a total of 6 blue cubes, so let's show that on this graph. Count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I have created my own graph to represent the information. That is it for today, boys and girls. I hope that you found this helpful. I will see you tomorrow for our next lesson.